Yeah, so we are dialed in, man. So, Scott, here we are, episode 2 of the Exit Lab podcast. How we doing today?
It's been great. It's been one of those days. And so this is just the cherry on top.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, good.
It's a
I'm
good
glad.
day.
I think that was like the most like, yeah, it's fine. The weather's good. Like you just kind of gave me that like, oh yeah, things are fine. Life's great. No, life is fantastic. One of the things today that we're gonna talk about is we're gonna talk about a specific phase of the um, value acceleration method. And uh, it's not going to be what we think, because a lot of times, people like want to have things sequential, and we're kind of going to jump in uh, right into what we call the protect stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this graphic with everybody that they can see. So you're going to see this like little stair step thing here, and you have 5 different stages. There's identify, protect, build, harvest, and manage, and that's the order that it really should go in. And when you break this down into 3 different phases, effectively, uh, you have identify is in what we call the discover gate, which basically means that the first thing you have to do in order to figure out where you're at is, take a hard look in the mirror and just do what we call your financial blood work, right? And what we do is we're going to say, okay, here's where your business is at, here's where you're at personally, and here's sort of what we need to make all this work together. And then it needs to tell us what we need to do and create a prioritized action plan. So that's that first step. Sometimes it's called a triggering event. You kind of hear that in the business. But what we're going to jump into is into the second gate, which is called prepare. And there's sort of 3 things that you can do on this value maturity stair step. And there's protect, build, and harvest. And a lot of times people think, okay, I've got sort of this, schematics of what I need to do. I need to go right into increasing revenue, or I need to go right into driving up sales, right? Well, that's like putting the cart before the horse, because the first thing that you got to do is you got to start with the path of least resistance, which is sort of de-risking your business, right? And I think what that looks like is taking a look at, do we have certain things in place, as far as like buy sell agreements? Do we have the proper protocols in place? But the thing that I think is really important that a lot of businesses are missing is they're missing this structural component. And Scott, I'm going to have you're going to be talking a lot about this, because you're kind of the expert in sort of structures and sort of, in particular, using uh, AI implementation into a business to sort of fix these structures. And I think with where we're at right now, this phase used to probably be one of the more difficult ones, because it's not the thing that immediately jumps in and is like, hey, it's kind of like that J curve. Like you got to put money into systems, right? If your CRM software is Excel, right? Then you are in a situation where, yeah, I think we made Scott throw up a little bit just by saying Excel for CRM. But those are the things that we have to think about, before we can say, hey, let's go ahead and try to find a way to get that product line off the ground or increase revenue or decrease expenses. We've really got to take care of the structural things inside of a business, and then you can move on to those other gates. So that's sort of why we wanted to go over that. And I'm also going to just bring up, so everyone can see just what the value acceleration methodology looks like from like a 30,000-foot view. And as you can see right there in that middle section, that's the prepare. It's just business improvements. That's the first thing, right? That's a pretty broad paintbrush, but it really starts with what they say right there at the bottom, which is mitigating risk. So, Scott, I kind of jumped in and kind of laid the foundation, but I want you to, maybe as someone who has, you've actually done this quite a bit with businesses. If you've taken a look at their tech stack, analyzed it, and you found ways to make them more efficient, you found ways to sort of simplify business. So maybe lay down the landscape for business owners of what AI kind of means, and what are some things, and how should business owners be thinking about implementing AI into their business for, one, value creation, and two, risk mitigation. And I'll stop talking.
I I would love to. First, I'd like to say how incredibly impressed I am that we've made it this far into the pod. Like how many episodes we've done and we haven't talked about the elephant in the room, big AI.
Yes.
It's
Two. That's many episodes. Episode 2.
episode two. Yep. I know, but first I want to lay just a little bit of groundwork. Go back a little bit on the size of business, and you can call it the requirements that that business should look like. Every business is going to be different, but you're going to see a lot of uh, milestones that a business should meet at different stages. When you're a startup, when you're just beginning in your garage, in your office, with you and a friend, you have an idea and you're building something, you shouldn't have structure, you shouldn't have processes and procedures. That just stops you from growing. That stops you from being as fast as you can, because at that early stage, speed is uh, what gives you your strength. That's what makes it so you can compete with everybody else on the market. As you grow, as you hire people, as you develop these structures that fit your specific business, then those processes get codified. They become written down somewhere, or they're just stored in somebody's head. They're stored in the owner's head for the life of the company. Uh, what we will see at the end of the life of a business, or at the stage that we're talking about where somebody is contemplating thinking about selling, you should be at the point where you have processes and procedures. This isn't something that you're flying by the seat of your pants. This isn't you're shooting from the hip. You If it's a business that you want to sell, it should have processes and procedures in place that let somebody else come in and hit the ground running. But we don't see that. It's all in their head. It's this amalgamation, and this just rat king of a mess that we see, where it's not a good process, it's not a good procedure, and really it hasn't followed the best principles. I put that in big quotes because there are no real best principles, but at the end of a company it should look like this, where you have processes and procedures. And so what this step is talking about is, let's get you from where you are to where you can be and where you should be, so that your company can be ready to be taken over in a good sense, where
Right.
you're able to sell it to somebody, they're able to come in, look at your documents, look at your procedures, look at your technology stack. It's all laid out for them, so that de-risks the it de-risks the company for them and for you.
Right.
And until we get there, that's what this whole step is about. And so we're talking about AI right now.
Right.
AI is the big buzzword. There's a lot of hype.
Can
There's
I
also a
can
lot
I
of value.
ask can I ask a quick question
Yeah,
before you jump right into the AI? Because I know we can talk about that for a minute. But going back to the owner having sort of the all the answers in their head and not down on paper. One of the things that I heard someone say was that if you have all of the sort of trade secrets that are in your head, you don't have a business, you have tribal knowledge. And I think that that's really important because you have to look, especially when it comes to business valuation, you have to look at your business through the eyes of a cold investor, as someone who's coming in to buy your business. And this kind of ties, I think, into structure and maybe automation, is that if your business can't run without you, then that is a serious red flag, and it's a value killer. Because what happens is if you are the person who is making the sales and part of customer relationships and everything's tied to you being that person, that becomes difficult. And we actually see this quite a bit, is there's this hero complex, at least in my industry in wealth management and financial advisory practices, is that many people develop relationships with these advisors, and then what they try to do is they try to sell to like a younger generation. And there's this guard that's been put up, and instead of having this collaborative approach where you let the other person step in and be the hero, so you just slowly fade to the background, like Kaiser Soze from Usual Suspects, right? Like, like that's, how it should be, but a lot of times it's not. And then what you see is you see a flight of capital, you see clients leave. And so really embracing structure and embracing having process, that's actually something really in the last, 6 months I've kind of taken with my team. And it's funny because my managing director has been saying it for like 2 or 3 years. I'm like, hey, that thing you've been talking about? I think that's a good idea. And he's just like kind of rolls his eyes at me, right? So I think it is really important. Is obviously doing the work and maintaining revenue streams is important, but this is that like not sexy work that you have to do behind the scenes in order to make sure the ship runs effectively, right? So just kind of
not every dollar coming in. Yeah, not every dollar coming in is worth the same to a business.
Right.
If you have customers and clients that will leave when you sell your business, then your client base is poisoned.
Mm,
It's a poison pill for the potential buyer, and that's one of the biggest concerns that potential buyers have when buying a business is, if I buy it, will the customers leave? Like what's the turnover that's going to happen? There's going to be some,
yeah.
and it's during this process that we find out what percentage will leave, what is the quality of your consumer base, of your, yeah, your consumer base, your customers, like
Yeah.
will they leave or will they stay in a
Right.
transition.
Absolutely. So tell us about some of the things that, you hear about all these great AI tools and how it's going to take over and it's basically Skynet. But I'm kidding, it's not Skynet. But, tell us a little bit about, how should business owners be thinking about it? And, I think that there's also something around sort of AI education awareness because you have some business owners that maybe run things themselves, make their own decisions. It's about how do I make my life easier? How do I become more efficient? And then there's businesses that are maybe in that small to mid-size that maybe have a management team, a leadership team. They have maybe even segmented departments. And now you're looking at trying to get an entire collective unit on board about how we're going to incorporate AI or how does that education work. So how much of this, I feel like there's multiple levels to this, right? So there's that first level, which is like education and just like, making sure everyone understands what it is and what it isn't. And then I think it goes more down a deeper rabbit hole, which is how do we fix some of our systems? So those are just some of the things that I wanted just to maybe have you touch on because this is your world. So I'll let you drive and I'll stop talking, I promise.
Yeah, so for context, I'm a by day I'm a software developer. I develop software for companies. I have been recently in the last year building AI tools with AI and implementing AI for companies. Um, that could be something as simple as scanning receipts, getting context from the receipt, automatically filling out a predetermined script based off of that receipt. So take a picture with your phone, you text a number with that picture, the API will take that data in, process it using whatever AI API you want. It'll process that image and then send it off to be processed by QuickBooks or Zero or whatever system you have. Um, what we should know and what AI is not, it is not a silver bullet. It is not a magic pill. It is not something you just slap on and it works. There's a lot of like everything else in the world. There's a lot that happens under the hood that if it's not done properly, it will just not work. It's like just throwing all the ingredients of a cake into a bowl and throwing it in the oven and being mad that the cake isn't a cake. It's just a soupy, soppy mess. Like there is real skill involved in implementing AI, but if you can implement it, then there's real cost and savings with with any implementation. For example, I was thinking through some examples earlier. One example of AI that I would love to build would be inventory management. If you, well, like I used to work in a pizza shop, and one of the things we would have to do is do inventory. Um, how many tomatoes do we have? How much bags of flour do we have? But what you can do with AI now, you take a video of your storeroom. It can count items. It will then process the video, count all the items, list it all out, put it to an Excel sheet that you have, or put it to your inventory management system. And then that just took a 2-hour job and chopped it down to 30 seconds of me taking a video.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a lot of edge cases, but it's little, these 1% changes that add up over time
Right.
that really save businesses a lot of money. Let's see. It's basically, if you can think of an area in your business that has messy data,
Hmm.
AI is exceptionally good at taking messy data and putting it into a structured output. So that's
Right.
like taking a picture of a receipt, uh, processing the data on that receipt, and then putting it out into a predetermined form of, this is the credit card that was used, this is the name, this is the item, this is the price, this is the category that we have in our system. It is exceptionally well at doing taking dirty data and doing the best it can to process it into a format that we can use.
Okay, so some of those, so what I'm hearing is that some of the tasks I think that we can think of it like the tasks that really required manual inputs and moving the bean on the abacus, right? Those are some of the things that AI can really help a business with. So when we think about tasks, I mean, I know, some of the things you and I have talked about trying to incorporate for businesses are really some of the, I think, where we're seeing I think human capital issues right now. Like for example, I hear businesses all the time tell me they can't find someone as like a receptionist, and now they have systems that basically can automate that as if it's a real person. And I think that that's one of for a business, the lifeblood is if someone Googles you and you're still using search engine optimization and finds out that you're an auto body shop and they call, but no one answers the phone, that's lost revenue. So basically by using AI, you can have a system in place where every time someone calls, somebody answers the phone or an entity, I guess. I guess that sounds like, it sounds hollow, but it is. It's this like, it's someone that's really gathering data and then, either putting them in a queue to call, but you just don't have these missed opportunities like you would as if you had to have someone sitting there and, Lord forbid, the 3 gallons of water that they drink, throughout the day, or whatever, I'm just making stuff up at this point. But those are the things that I think about. So, do incorporating some of those things into a business that I think have some of that, practical scale to where, business owners aren't constantly, especially in some of these other positions like inventory management or like I go back to receptionist or these types of things that really require hands-on diligent training, and then 6 months later maybe they leave for a different opportunity and now you're back to square one. It feels like there's some solutions like that that can help businesses increase their efficiency at a much higher level. Is that something you've seen?
Oh, that example that you gave is spot on. That's probably one of the lowest hanging fruits any business can implement right now that has dramatic impacts, like in terms of revenue gain and costs.
Yeah.
Um, like revenue gain, you want that business. If it's an after hours, you're a plumber and a pipe burst in somebody's house, they're going to find somebody. They're looking for someone who can come out right now to find you, or that will be able to fix their problem. Um, if you don't want to be fielding calls all night, you can have the AI take care of that. We've set that up before. Like it's I'll put it in quotes. It's simple. Like it's really simple to set these tools up. There are platforms like Go High Level that have a lot of the tooling built out for this specific case, where you have a business that takes after hours calls. You don't want to take those calls anymore. You can go set up an AI agent. It will text you when it gets a call. It will have instruct. You can give it instructions. Like if it's a super emergency, it'll patch it through to your phone, or it'll just batch them all together and send it off in the morning and give you an updated highlight of everything that happened throughout the night. That's increased revenue because you are able to field every single call that comes in without turning your phone off, without missing the kids soccer game on a Saturday or missing movie night with the spouse. It also saves you money because you're not paying somebody out overseas to be your 24/7 calls agent. Because like if you're a small business, you don't have money to hire somebody full time to be on the phones 24/7. You can shop it out to a call farm overseas,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of money.
Yeah, we see sort of the same thing with like virtual assistants as well. I think that I say receptionist, that's one thing that's more like incoming, but then there's also getting hours of your life back by having, some of these tasks and automation done for you. And, that's one of the things that we focus on when we run the financial blood work for our business clients is that part of understanding valuation is understanding where they're at and where their tech stack is. And when we think about these are things that, if our clients help us, want us to help them implement those solutions, we will do that. But that's where we can actually illustrate just sort of the increase in value it has from just saying, hey, if we were to automate these types of things, or we increase this, or we upgrade your CRM, we can actually show you sort of what that does from a value driver. It's not just, yeah, we're going to make your life easier. Like that, yeah, that's important. Right? I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, we want to have these outcomes based AI solutions, but at the end of the day, it's really also about, what does this really mean from a valuation standpoint for my business, right? And I want you just to imagine this, right? So if you are, let's just say you are a business that's doing, let's call it, $2 million in EBITDA, right? And you've got a team of 20 employees, and we look at sort of your that tech stack and we say, okay, these are the things that need to be fixed because we're still running on Microsoft Access and we're just using a Word document for our policies and procedures. And if we can take some of these inefficiencies, even if it's as simple as just creating a 24-hour when somebody calls, there is this presence of someone answering the phone, that drives revenue, right? That increases revenue. And then we tack that on with implementing some of these other systems that, completely de-risk the business, or more than anything, modernize it. Now you're really sort of cooking with gas. And if there comes a point where, depending on your infrastructure, we need to outsource that to, two or three different developers, we can do that. But at the end of the day, it's all about seeing what are those outcomes and how is that going to drive value into your practice. Because now if I look at what you're doing as an outside investor, I see that you have up to date CRM. I see that you have your customer connections are at a deeper level. Even having an AI chatbot is something that can really help with a client, customer service, and create some good workflows, just from an internal process, right? So those are the things that I think about, when I look at the other side of, okay, what does this mean for a business owner, and what's this mean for efficiency in a business? Am I off my rocker when we look at that type of stuff?
You are, I think you're right on your rocker.
Hey,
Uh, with
got it right in
valuation,
January.
and we'll go into this a lot more later, but with valuation, there aren't just two levers, revenue and expenses. That's normally the defaults people go to, is increase revenue, decrease expenses. There's also a third one, and that's the efficiency lever. It's
Mm,
like, it's how good is your motor oiled? How
yeah.
how well is your business running? And when you implement these tools, like, up to date security policies and hiring and firing policies, and these things that should be in your company but aren't, it increases the value of your company because it de-risks it as an investment, as an opportunity for a potential purchaser. um, because when you have, going back to your example of $2 million EBITDA, if you want to increase your valuation, you can either get more customers, increase your revenue, or fire a bunch of people, decrease revenue or decrease expenses.
Right.
Like, not great, but uh, or get a different, rent a different building that has a lower rate,
Right.
lower rent,
Mhm.
decreasing revenue, decreasing expenses. That will increase your valuation. It will. Or you can change the multiple that your company is being valued under, which that comes from the efficiencies, the processes. It's the protect step of the 5 steps. That's the let's shore up your company so it doesn't collapse under itself, because as it becomes stronger, that multiple increases.
Absolutely. It's interesting, and not to bury the lead for a future episode, but we talk about the foreign tangible capitals, and these really drive 80% of a business's valuation, and it's customer, human, social, and structural, right? And so we'll actually do a whole episode on what each one of those is, but that's all part of it. And I think AI can create efficiencies inside really each and every single one of those different capitals. And so, no, I think that's, to me, I think that that's a big value add. So, let me ask you this. So we kind of touch base, kind of high level on this stuff, but where do I start if I am thinking not even just about exiting, Scott? Let's just say I'm in a situation where I know things can be better, right? And maybe I've been using the same software because every time I load it up, it shows a guy punching in a 3.5 inch floppy disk, right? Well, whatever it is that we're trying to do, if I'm a business owner, obviously valuation that makes sense. We kind of have an idea where to start there. But even just from a growth and efficiency perspective, like where do I start?
I think there comes to mind, there are three different alternatives you can go. There are three different routes you can go, um, in determining which area of your business you need to focus on. One is what is taking the most of your time? What action are you doing every
Mhm.
day that is taking the most time possible? Because I guarantee there is a solution out there, or it is possible to build a solution that can take that over, a process you can implement that can streamline what you are spending most of your time on. And then on the flip side, it's what's taking the least amount of your time. Like what's something that just you do once a week for an hour a week, a really tiny task. Maybe it's scanning receipts. Pick a small task that you constantly do, and then automate that. You find an AI tool that can take that over, or some existing solution that can do what you are doing. Um, and then the third route to go is just find the thing that you hate the most about your business. Like, what is the thing that you wake up in the morning and you're like, I don't want to go to work today. I will let my business burn to the ground because I don't want to do wash the toilets or pay the bills or whatever it is. What's the thing you hate the most? Automate that. That's a great candidate for automating. So it's either the thing you spend the most amount of time on, or it's one of the things you spend the least amount of time on, or it's the thing you hate the most.
Okay.
Keep the stuff that you love to do, even if it's taking the most of your time. Just leave that for now. Keep doing that. Just get rid of the things that take up most of your time, or the things you hate the most.
But no, I mean, I think that this has been a super beneficial like chat just because, you hear a lot about what's going on right now. And I think a lot of people feel like they're probably being left in the dust a little bit. And so, if you have questions, go ahead and head to the exitlabpod.com. Yeah, I was like, what's our website? And you can, take a look and see at some of the things we're doing there. And if you have questions or want to do a consultation of just like, hey, I either want to figure out how to grow my business with AI, or I want to, think about exiting and see how I can increase my valuation, we actually have the ability for you to just, drop us some information and we'll get in touch with you, because this is important. And I think we're in a really unique time with all these different tools and resources that are available to really take that protect stage and kind of knock it out of the park in a shorter amount of time. I mean, I think that that's something that might have taken 6, 9, 12, 24 months to do. You could probably get done in sort of one of the 90-day sprints that we talk about when we go into the implementation phase. So did I miss anything or anything you want to add before we
I love it.
exit?
I There's a lot of hype going on with AI, but there's also a lot of value,
Yeah.
and it's like if you don't want to spend the time learning how to do AI, there are people that do know it. There are people that use it every day, that know the ins and outs, the pros and cons, because it's not a silver bullet. It's not
Mhm.
the golden goose that lays the golden eggs. It's another tool that you have in your tool belt, and if you use it improperly, it does more harm than good.
Mm. Well, that's horrifying. So with that, we're gonna we're gonna leave off on that Skynet note. Don't mess this up. You heard it from us first. No, but we appreciate
No,
every.
no, you wouldn't hammer a nail with a saw. That's the only thing. It's just we're adding. Yeah,
No, I'm kidding. I figured as much. I think we got at least like 4 weeks before it becomes sentient and enslaves us all. But
I mean that's the thing about exponential growth is the technology is growing exponentially, and we don't really have a good way of comprehending that naturally as people, as humans. Like we get
oh
linear
no,
growth really well, but exponential growth, like it just goes
no,
over our head. But yeah, so maybe 4 weeks. 4 weeks is probably a good estimate on when
this is
everything
this is
will.
all. And maybe it's
Yeah,
like an alien race that's finding us, 100 years from now, and they're like, "Oh, what was this podcast about?" No, I'm just kidding. No, well, cool. Well, Scott, always good chatting with you. And if you have questions, shoot us an email or visit theexitlabpod.com and connect with us. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys soon.